My name is Katherine Stone. I am a CX analyst with the CX Foundation based in beautiful New York City. And I'm so happy to be joined today by Michelle Couture, the lead of Global CX at Zoom. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us and share a little bit of your insight about how Zoom will approach what I think you're calling a collaboration between human agents and AI virtual agents, and how that new hybrid workforce will come together to improve the customer experience.
Yes, you got it. Thrilled to be here today. Looking forward to it.
Thank you. So I read a little bit of Chris Morrissey's post, who is the general manager of Zoom CX.
That's
And
right.
I thought he wrote something, he made a very interesting comment. He said, in some cases, human empathy can prove more cost effective than automation. And, while that is certainly true, showing empathy and taking the time to build a genuine customer connection takes just that time.
Yep.
So, how do you recognize which opportunities for empathy are really worth the value of that time that it might take? And how do you square that to executives who are concerned about, hey, if our agents take the time to have empathetic responses and to have natural human responses, that could negatively affect KPIs like average handle time or call wait time. So what's the balance there?
Yeah, it's a great question. And balance is really key, I think, when it comes to all of this. I think it's really up to the CX leader to really be thinking about those opportunities that are worth automation and the ones that maybe you should be spending the extra time to handle. So when you think about things, that extra 45 seconds or 60 seconds that maybe you have to spend longer on the phone for the average hold time, if you think about it in the short term, yes, it's going to cost a little more. Yes, it's going to impact your numbers for that moment. But if you're thinking about the long-term gain and what it's actually going to cost your organization, if you don't spend that time, and now you have a customer who's dissatisfied. Now you have a customer who's going to leave negative reviews about you. They're not happy. You've lost a loyal customer. That's especially critical when you're thinking about in the holiday season where stress is even higher and there's all this chaos going on. That cost is actually significantly more than that 45 seconds or 60 seconds that agent actually took to really leave that better impression. So I think it's more so about reevaluating the way you think about KPIs and maybe not being so rigid and stuck on a particular time or a moment, and really thinking about the end game and how you can really deliver that long-term loyalty over time. The payoff of that comes back twofold from what we've seen.
That's absolutely true. And thank you for that answer. And just you were speaking about KPIs a moment ago. And in the past, we do have these more CCaaS contact center geared KPIs like average handle time. But Zoom has always been really big on the resolution rate,
Yes.
as well as now the customer effort score. So
Yes.
I'm wondering if you could speak a bit more about how those two metrics are, one, right for the AI first era of CX that we're currently in and are likely to stay in. And if there's any other KPIs that are being overlooked that should be added to your roster.
Absolutely. So we do live in an AI first world, and every CCaaS vendor and CX leader is thinking about AI. How do we implement AI? At Zoom, we're really kind of trying to think about that slightly differently. We think about taking a connection first approach to CX. And what we really mean by that is it's not don't use AI. Of course we use AI. In fact, our product strategy is AI first, as it should be. It's the enabler for a lot of these things. But if you're only focused on the AI component, you likely are not actually reducing friction and delivering the experience that you want for your customers. And so we like to think about it as in regards of resolution and customer effort, because that's what the customer wants. They don't want to have to be carrying that burden of trying to solve a problem on their own. Everyone knows how frustrating it is to be talking to a bot and there's no escalation path in sight. There is nothing. It's just in a loop. It doesn't offer an escalation. It doesn't offer a phone number. It doesn't give you any way to get out of that. So now what do you have to do? Well, you have to go to the website, then you have to search, you have to try to find it. Now you have to sit in a call. It is so frustrating. That is the friction and the customer effort that you want to be eliminating. You need to make sure that it's more seamless and focused on resolution. So, as CX leaders are thinking about implementing AI in design, we believe it's AI and humans together. You need to make it seamless and easy and think more about the resolution path and reducing the customer effort to actually get to that positive engagement. And when you do that, everybody wins, not just the customer, but the business with their loyalty and their higher customer satisfaction and higher NPS scores. And also the agents, because they're dealing with less frustrating customers. So they're having an easier day as well. So it's a win-win across the board when it's designed and implemented correctly.
Absolutely, especially as we get very close to Black Friday and the big holiday shopping
Oh, yeah.
season.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm wondering, in the moment, a customer is, perhaps frustrated. They're not getting the resolution that they want on the phone. The agent is exhausted. They want to leverage AI to resolve the customer's problem and make their performance metrics and scores, but they also need instant access to information that
Yes.
is often difficult to find. And as we've seen, can be siloed across different applications and inaccessible. So, can you talk a little bit about, and then this is the last strictly AI question,
Uh-huh.
a little bit about how Zoom AI Companion empowers agents in the moment?
Absolutely. So Zoom actually has a product even outside AI Companion. We have AI Companion for our employee engagements and being able to provide. We also have another product called Zoom AI Expert Assist, and that's custom tailored for contact centers. And what that's going to do is really provide the guidance and the insight and the knowledge in an intelligent way to help guide the agent through the conversation. So think of it as like a CX agent's like best friend. It's going to be helping them and working them through, the customer problem. Now, what's cool about this AI is that it has agentic capabilities and, leverages generative AI to help with that. So it's not just going to go through, typically you have very scripted guides that you have to follow and adhere to as an agent, and going off script is actually a very big negative thing. So when you have a customer who comes in and say their problem actually starts at step number 4, but you have to go through the script and the guide to get through all the different steps before you can get there. Now with Agent Assist, you actually have the ability of starting at step 4. So it listens to the agent and the customer and really helps meet them where they are. So they're getting the information, they're getting the steps, and it's dynamically adapting to where the customer actually is. So the agent can feel a lot more supported. So I think that's a real big thing. The other one is after call work. No agent likes to do this. It takes forever. You're having to go through and disposition and write your summaries. And not only is it causing friction for the agent, but also for the business, because they're getting inconsistent types of responses. And some agents are phoning it in, some are writing, novels. It's very difficult to be able to go through that. So with AI, it can actually assist them with that as well. So they can wrap that up really quickly. They can auto disposition. They can make sure that they have everything captured in the right way, which will help improve AI and scoring over time as well. And then also eliminate some of that, tedious work for them too. So help support them in that way as well.
I think that's amazing. And Agent Assist also helps. You have auto summarization.
Yes.
And my question is, while that undoubtedly reduces the agent workload and really helps to reduce agent burnout, a lot of companies have concerns that agents will become over-reliant on AI. And so how do you maintain that balance when you're looking at employees? Of course, the executives or the higher ups may want everything possible to be automated because it works faster and it saves money in their minds. Yep. Whether or not that's true, time will tell. But so how do you prevent a codependency on AI, and how do you ensure that it really the agents maintain a balance with AI so that they don't keep producing the same content over and over?
Absolutely. I think it's a fair concern. And I definitely think it's something that every CX leader should definitely keep an eye on. But one of the things that I'm seeing is that it's not necessarily a dependence thing. It can actually be more of an enablement way as well. As I mentioned earlier, agents really do rely on scripts and guides and, things that are guiding them through it. They're not able to just kind of go off script all the time and kind of go in their own direction. So I definitely think that they're kind of used to this regimented way of things that are going through there. So I think in using Expert Assist, it's actually helping from a consistency perspective, or maybe even guiding agents to maybe getting to the answer faster in a more efficient way that they can actually learn as a skill to help them and reinforce them, in the future and what they're doing. So if they're exposed to the right steps and the right way of doing this, it can actually help them get that deeper insight overall and let them really focus on listening and problem solving instead of having to really go in and search for all the information. To me, I think this comes down to thoughtful design. So this is again about AI implementation. You want to make sure that you're showing context and recommended actions and reasoning throughout the AI so that they're not just blindly accepting it either. They're able to apply a level of critical thinking. Yes, this makes sense in this scenario. Maybe this doesn't make sense in this scenario, right? So it's going to help them use AI a bit more confidently and hopefully help strengthen their capabilities, not necessarily replace them or make them a lot more dependent on it necessarily.
Absolutely, because the studies have shown that when agents are shown a positive use case for AI, they're happy to adopt it. It's not that they don't want to use AI, despite, popular opinion. It's that they don't want to use AI for AI's sake. And I guess that kind of segues perfectly into my next question. We are absolutely living in the age of what I call AI FOMO. Same thing as AI for AI's sake. Businesses may be pressured by leadership to take a technology first approach. Executives see their competitors are adopting AI and they know that they need AI, but they don't know what tool to use. They don't have a pilot in mind. They don't really have a specific use case. So how do we stop this era of AI FOMO, and how does Zoom kind of bring executives and leadership back down to earth in terms of purpose built for the contact center AI?
It is such a great question, and it is one I love to talk about. So let's get into it. The reality is, when AI is just introduced to cut costs or check a box, it's going to 100% of the time erode trust. And that is a major issue. Trust with agents, trust with employees, trust with customers. That is a problem. Customers will sense when business prioritizes efficiency over connection. That's going to show up in your churn. It's going to show up in negative sentiment. It's going to lower lifetime value. The hit there is emotional and financial. And that is what exact opposite of what you want to do. So CX leaders all the time are telling me, oh, but my leadership team is saying I have to implement this and I have to focus on ROI and I have to automate all of these things. No, that is not the right approach. The real way to break the AI FOMO cycle is to anchor AI to a clear outcome, exactly as you mentioned. So you really need to start where the connection is breaking down. Get to the root cause of what actually is your problem. Are you struggling with long wait times? Are you struggling with inconsistent answers? Are you struggling with unnecessary transfers? Are you struggling with customers getting stuck in your bot? You need to understand what that is and then apply AI to help reduce the customer effort in those specific areas. And I can give you an example of one of Zoom's customers. Cricket is a great example of this. They came to us not saying, oh, we need to implement the best AI and all the AI things in the world. They came to us saying, look, we have fragmented systems. We have long wait times. Our customers are, showing up with low CSAT. We know there's a ton of insights in our contact center, but we're not able to share them externally to the rest of our business. And so they brought all of this to us and we were able to walk them through the art of the possible, what we could do, how AI could really help advance what they're doing. And over time, and it's a journey, AI is a journey. It's not an overnight thing, right? They were able to set up AI in the right places to actually see everything improve, right? They were able to automate the things that should be automated, support their agents, make the customer journey a lot less friction, create a lot less friction within that. And ultimately, they're seeing that payoff. They're seeing happier customers and lower wait times and higher engagement and all of those positive things that come through that. So I really think it's a shift that needs to happen with leaders and especially executive leadership. It is not about the ROI will come. We know that it will come. But again, it's not about the AI. It's about implementing the connection and figuring out where the friction is, the root cause of that, and then how AI can essentially help and create that. It's not one size fits all. Everyone has to think about it slightly differently. So the FOMO is terrible. If that person's doing it, it won't work for your organization. You got to do it custom.
Right. And I actually saw some of the improvement metrics that Cricut put out, and I am a avid Cricut customer myself, and I did not know that Zoom was responsible for the better customer service that I've been getting from Cricut lately because
Yes.
it used to be terrible trying to create an account and get some help. So thank you, especially as we get closer to the holiday season when I'll be using it most of all. So shout out to Zoom for that, for
I
sure.
love it.
And I do want to get back to this idea of the connected experience that is so central to how Zoom is currently approaching the customer experience. And of course, when we say connected, we don't just mean omni-channel, we mean all your systems are connected, all of your
Yes.
third-party integrations and tools are connected. Departments can share information with each other. There's no more data silos or communication silos. So, unfortunately, a lot of companies today have legacy systems that they
Yep.
can't just move off overnight to the cloud. They have perhaps regulatory and compliance issues that may prevent them from sharing data between some of these more sensitive applications. And they also have a tech debt that's like 10 years plus in the making. They have all these applications, and then to ask them to whittle it down can be a real challenge from there for them. So how does Zoom account for that? How does Zoom create a connected customer experience when it feels like connection isn't always possible from even a technology standpoint?
100%. And we hear this all the time, right? This is the main problem. It's where do I start? How do I even begin this journey? Because it's so complicated and convoluted. I think when we think about this, it's just more so expecting a rip and replace is completely unrealistic. And that's not what we're expecting anyone to do. Our approach is really starting with coexistence. So we integrate with systems our customers already rely on through APIs. We have CRM and ticketing connectors, flexible data sharing controls. And so the first value isn't about full platform consolidation. It's about doing this in steps and journeys. The first step would be around giving agents context from those legacy systems so that customers don't have to repeat themselves and escalations can move through a lot faster. We've seen that that alone can really be a meaningful silo that gets removed. And over time, what we believe, really differentiates Zoom is that our UC, our CX, our AI, our collaboration products, they all share the same architecture and data foundation. So when customers are choosing to modernize other pieces of their tech stack over time, they don't have to rebuild all the governance models and the reporting and the routing logic and the AI configuration. That connective tissue already exists for them. So it's a lot easier for them to take those additional steps in completing their modernization journey. And so for us, the goal isn't to force companies into a single stack overnight. That would not be the way to go. It's really to provide that phased path that over time really helps reduce that technical debt and really turn communication, collaboration, and customer data into something that can actually work together and help them get to that longer term vision that we know that they're trying to do.
That's amazing. And I want to talk about part of the vision for quality customer experience today. Again, we've talked about the desire for a collaboration between human and AI agents. And I think nowhere is that more evident. The need for that collaboration is so evident in the customer experience itself, because I hear a lot of enterprises talking about a human in the loop AI. And so I wonder, how does Zoom encourage or advise its customers to create that human in the loop AI experience so that if a customer wants to be transferred to a live agent, maybe they're just not getting what they want from the virtual agent, or they're from a different generation. Different generations have preferences about how they would like to be spoken to and whether or not they want to interact with AI. So how do you ensure that it is possible to reach a human when it's absolutely necessary? And then how do you determine which customers do need to be forwarded to a human and which ones, unfortunately, AI, whether they want it or not, AI is going to go ahead and take this one.
Totally. It's such a good point, and something that you really need to think about when you're implementing your virtual agent. So it really comes down to the conversation design and the workflows that you have set up. Each brand feels a little bit different about exactly how they want to implement this. Okay, there's certain things that we definitely want to offload. There's certain things we want to make sure we have an escalation path. And so it comes down to prompting and the way that you design your workflows and the way that you set that up. Now, the number one thing I like to tell people is AI is not a set it and forget it. Absolutely does not work that way. So you don't just design once and then just let it ride. You design, you pilot, you make sure you're tweaking and driving optimization. At Zoom, we have a tool called Zoom Quality Management that auto scores 100% of our engagements, both human and virtual, which allows us to get a lot of insight across the contact center and understanding, the virtual agent did a great job at understanding this topic and answering this, or even identifying that there are some things that, potentially it was escalating, but with updating a knowledge base article or giving the virtual agent some additional insight, it could maybe offload and handle and doesn't require an escalation to a live agent. So I think what it comes down to is having the right evaluation tools in play to make sure that you're driving efficiencies. And then also just to make sure that you're continuously in there tinkering and working and trying to evaluate this to make sure that you're getting the most, efficient and driving the most optimization. We definitely do not want to get rid of the human escalation. It is critical and important in so many engagements. And so making sure that you have that clear escalation path is just so critical in reducing that friction.
Absolutely. And that it actually works. The escalation
Yes,
path is actually efficient and effective, which is easier said than done, I think.
100%.
Now, I also want to talk about the fact that Zoom, in my opinion, is one of the few all-in-one, as I like to
Yeah.
call it, platforms out there. You guys are not just inbound, outbound contact center. Everybody knows Zoom meetings.
Yep.
We all remember 2020 and COVID. You guys dominated the space, and maybe that was how you got your start. But now your workforce management, quality management, employee engagement, conversational analytics, AI-powered workforce automation. I mean, it's a lot. And
Yes.
also, of course, physical equipment, which that's one of my favorite things about Zoom. So I wonder, how do you beat the jack of all trades, master of none allegations, such
Uh-huh.
as they are? And how do you ensure that you're maintaining the same pace of innovation across all these different products that Zoom has?
It's a great question and one that we get asked a lot. And the reality is that our strategy is really intentional. So we didn't just wake up and try to create a bunch of disconnected products. What we were really doing and what we have done is we've built a platform that's designed around conversations, collaboration, and customer experience. And everything that we do and everything that we build ladders into that mission. It's specifically when we come to connection first and connection first, that's in our DNA. That's what we do so well. And we've always done so well. And innovation is also in our bones as well. So every product shares the same architecture, data foundation, AI services, security models, and UI simplification philosophy. And what that does is that creates depth in our products, not necessarily dilution. So when we innovate once, it really benefits across the entire stack. And our AI investment goes a long way as well. It's portfolio wide, so it's not limited to a single product line. And that allows us to scale faster and better. We create better models, we have faster iteration, and much more efficient go to market velocity than any other of specifically like the CX vendors that we have in the market. We're doing this a lot faster. So that platform is what really gives us speed. And we have been able to meet and often surpass legacy incumbents in specific areas in a fraction of the time. And that's truly because we're not rebuilding infrastructure and AI and connectors and all of the different components that take for every single product. And the result is that it helps us move a lot faster. It helps us build faster, innovate faster, be more modern. And our customers feel that benefit a lot because ultimately for them, that means less integration effort. They have lower total cost of ownership, and they have a consistent experience for supervisors, admins, and even agents across the contact center. So it's really a win-win across the board.
Consistency is absolutely key in customer experience, a super important word to keep in mind. And I want to be respectful of everybody's time here, yours in particular. Mine is far less valuable. But I'll wrap up with my last question. One thing that I see over and over as an analyst, and something that is talked about kind of behind closed doors often in the analyst space, and I wish it was discussed more openly, is there's seems to be a real gap between where technology vendors think customers and enterprises are in their AI adoption and just technology adoption journey, and then where they actually are. And often they're far, far, far behind. So while platforms like Zoom are talking about AI companions and agentic AI now, and then an all-in-one ecosystem with all these different products, the reality I see a lot is that companies still aren't even mastering omni-channel communication. I mean, I never thought that we'd be still talking about omni-channel communication in 2025. So how do you slow down? Because you're Zoom, you can't slow down the pace of innovation. It's what you're known for, and it's what your more high level, more AI mature clients expect from you. But then you also have to cater to the needs of people that just aren't on the same timeline as we are. So, what does that look like? What are the challenges associated with that? And I guess, am I way off base? Are people much more advanced than I think they are?
No, you are spot on. Everyone is at a different spot in their AI journey, right? And in the way that they're thinking about this and how they're implementing and where they're at from a sophistication and a maturity standpoint. So the way that we accomplish this is people tend, at least from what I've seen in the CX world, is they're buying the vision. They know they need to undergo a digital transformation and they're choosing a vendor that can go on that journey with them. Yes, that is what I desire to do and that's where I want to get to. From there, it is just that. It is a journey. It is a orchestrated, path that we set forward, that we strategically build together, where we start with certain components. Maybe it's moving from on-prem to the cloud as step one. And then we get that accomplished. And then the next step is, okay, now let's find that in those areas where we can add in a virtual agent or we can optimize some AI components. So we bring that into the mix. So it's really about the journey. And I think that's the key to finding a vendor that's not going in and saying, rip and replace everything and change. That's not the right strategy. It's understanding that you're aligned with that company's vision and how you see your organization in the next few years, and then really building a strategic path together as a trusted advisor to deliver on that value and that vision. So that's what we try to do here at Zoom. And we understand that is definitely a step-by-step approach.
Absolutely. A couture approach, even,
yes.
some might say. Michelle, thank you so much for your time and your insights today. And just anything you want to plug, or where can people find you if they'd like to follow you on LinkedIn? You don't have to, but if you're interested, plug away.
Okay, yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, Michelle Couture, and I would definitely plug to Zoom. We have a zoom.com/CCX.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Michelle. Again, I'm Katherine from the CX Foundation. This was Michelle Couture with Zoom, the global lead for CX at Zoom. So thank you, and happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Okay, perfect.